The previous night had been an interesting one, camping alongside attendees at the Wanlockhead Music Festival, with which we'd had the misfortune to coincide. It wouldn't have been so bad if we could have joined in, but the expensive tickets were sold out, putting the pub and its facilities out of bounds to us. As we found out later, the only toilets were at the Lead Mining Museum, which was some distance away, and extremely busy. In retrospect, it would have been better to have camped further down the Wanlock water, where there's a good choice of sites. Still, you live and learn. Although everyone we encountered was pleasant, the music and atmosphere were louder and went on for longer than suited us, given our objectives were very different. Many had already left when we eventually hit the road about 9 AM on Monday morning, somewhat later than anticipated, and with quite a tough day ahead, relatively speaking. The first task would be to get ourselves over Lowther Hill, at 725 metres, the biggest on the southern Upland Way, though we'd be passing over the shoulder, which is slightly lower. Nevertheless, it would require about 300 metres of climbing in the first 2 miles. It would be the first of 2 major ridges to be crossed, with smaller summits in between, as we made our way eastwards across the watershed of the Lowther Hills to the Dalveen Pass. Here, good tracks would take us beyond the official halfway point of the Southern Upland Way to the Daer Reservoir. We'd then face 3 miles of intermittent, probably boggy climbing via Hod's Hill and Beldno, before a long descent through forest to reach the remote bothy at Brattleburn. The weather wasn't helping either, with low cloud threatening rain and being driven endlessly by high winds. From our sheltered pitch on the bowling green, it didn't seem too bad, but looking upwards it was obvious that conditions within the cloud being swept across the hillside would need to be adequately prepared for. Somebody's talking about a heat wave today. What? What an absolute joke. Absolutely freezing, really windy, really cold. We're off over the Lowthers today. I don't know where this weather's come from, but we're leaving Wanlockhead in 25-30 mile an hour wind, something of that sort of nature, maybe more. My ankle again is taking some time to start, so we're just like trying to walk it in. Dan was off like a hare. We eventually managed to stop her halfway up the hill. But we're making for Brattleburn Bothy, which is about 4 miles short of Moffat today, and then it's an easy finish tomorrow. To the rest of the day. But that's Wanlockhead behind us, where we spent the night amidst a music festival. It wasn't too bad. I think the guys in the tent next to us probably played music for longer than that. I was sick to death of meatloaf. But a decent night. As I say, unexpected weather, but you take what you're given. To get to the top of this hill because there's no view the way we're going, but there is a view to our rear.
Tough.
It's quite hard, isn't it?
It is.
This is that little bit that I didn't see. I'll have to do. It's a battle.
Looks like there's a fair bit left of the
There's not much beyond the walls. The walls are certainly thick enough.
woohoo! Halfway.
Oh, great. After leaving our pitch on the bowling green, there was a short distance on the road before tackling a 2-mile ascent of Lowther Hill, which is the highest summit on the entire trail. We'd pass Stake Hill, Whiteside. There'd be a short distance on the road, clipping it in a couple of places and passing between the mast and the golf ball of the radar station on the summit of Lowther Hill itself. We'd climb over the shoulder, visiting the lunchbox bothy, where we stopped in to sign the visitor register. Then it was over the shoulder itself for a long descent to the col and a sharp uphill to the summit of Cold Moss, where we picked up the fence, which we'd follow all the way off the fell. Over the summit of Combe Head, followed by a steep descent to the col here, and then another steep ascent to contour around Lowther Hill, then down the ridge, boggy in places, to descend to the Dalveen Pass and the road at Over Fingland. After that, it was 800 metres or so easy walking to the bridge on the Brattleburn, at which point I realised I'd lost the GoPro. So leaving Diane at the bridge, I ran back along the road and retraced my route as far as this point here, about halfway down the far side of Lowther Hill, where I knew I'd last used the camera. Couldn't find it, so back I came, looking as intently as I could, but being aware that Diane was waiting for me. So eventually meeting up with her again, we decided to carry on onto an indistinct trail where we crossed the river that becomes the Clyde. I was pretty depressed at this point and had almost given up filming. We then carried on a trail through the trees before it turned into a track, a very good one, which really improved speed. The halfway point of the trail is somewhere around here, somewhere in this region here, passing Smithwood Basel, and all the way to its junction with a good road, where we came across a sign saying that the trail was diverted. However, the date was May, sometime late May, and given that we were in July, we decided to just carry on. Got to the reservoir, found our way barred, and had no option but to retrace our steps and carry on round the bottom of the reservoir to cross the Daer water and uphill around this wood here to get onto Sweet Shore Brae. Then it was a long pull over Sweet Shore Brae up to Hod's Hill, which is bizarrely not marked on the Harvey's map. You're always in sight of the reservoir, coming round the corner and a steep descent alongside the forest and uphill steeply again to Beldno, which was the final summit of the journey. Off Beldno, it's a long descent through the forest in excess of a couple of kilometres, where Diane's tibialis anterior started giving us some trouble. Down to the burn here, followed by a short rise, getting ever boggier, and the final few hundred metres to the bothy, which admittedly I nearly missed, Diane saw it, is extremely boggy. The bothy itself is extremely remote. As it turned out, there was no one home and nobody turned up that night, so we had it all to ourselves.